Okay, so moving on, let's just talk a little bit more about these energies to help you get prepared in the week ahead. What we have, okay, first of all, we have the sun entering Aquarius on Tuesday. Yay! Actually, Aquarius is one of my favorite signs, even though sometimes it's one of the craziest, most chaotic signs. But it also can be one of the most peaceful signs. It actually is a sign of great extremes, like all of the fixed signs. So it holds much potential, much depth. You know, there are many vibrations, many differences in the vibrations of Aquarius. So we get to choose how we want to go and what kind of Aquarian energy we want to express in ourselves for the month ahead. Because with the entry of the sun into Aquarius, this isn't just for this week. As you probably know if you follow any astrology, the sun stays in each of the 12 signs for approximately 1 month. So on Tuesday, January 19th, 2021, we have the sun sliding into Aquarius this Tuesday. And, you know, this is a week where we will be more focused on expansion, spiritual expansion. More, in some ways, we can be more open-minded. Now, in other ways, we can be more rigid and more self-righteous. There's an influence towards that. So again, this is the alchemy part. You want to work on transforming the areas where, you know, you are rigid, because rigidity is the nemesis of spiritual growth. Basically, you can't grow if you're rigid. Now, it's good to be firm. It's good to be strong. It's good to have courage. These are all useful qualities for the spiritual seeker, the spiritual warrior, the spiritual activist, if I may use that phrase. But rigidity stops the flow. You get that, right? So if you're so black and white or rigid, and this is one of the things that both Capricorn and Aquarius can actually share in their lower vibrations. They're both ruled by Saturn. Now, Aquarius also has the co-ruler of Uranus, which is being activated this week. So there's that great awakening energy, and there is the aspect of, or the element, just the energy, the side of Aquarius that can be very open-minded. It can be very tolerant, but it can also be extremely narrow-minded once it makes up its mind. So be watchful and mindful of these kinds of tendencies in yourself. And in general, for the person who is on a spiritual path, you want to move towards open-mindedness, or at least just a certain kind of openness, a certain kind of, it's good to be curious. I am always curious about what other people think on things, or how they see the world. And it doesn't mean I have to adopt that for my own viewpoint, but I can be so, secure in myself and, okay with how I see the world, that I don't have to be threatened by another person's different viewpoint. That's something to think of. I mean, if you feel threatened by another person's viewpoint, you might ask yourself, what are you so afraid of? And why aren't you trusting spirit here? I want you to think about that. Now, granted, some viewpoints are crazy. Some viewpoints are, maybe the actions they lead to can be quite dangerous. I acknowledge that, okay? But if you're really getting rattled inside just because somebody has a different viewpoint, because by the way, not everybody acts from their viewpoints. That might be, revolutionary for some of you who maybe you always act from your viewpoint, but you have to be very internally aligned to have your actions and your viewpoints line up. A lot of us don't act from our inner thoughts or inner viewpoints. In other words, we might have values or ideals we say we hold to be sacred. I mean, if you say you're an environmentalist, for example, but you're driving an SUV and living in a giant house way too big for yourself, and you're consuming a lot. Well, how does that line up with being an environmentalist? I mean, I'm just saying it doesn't very well, okay? And by the way, I'm not saying it's bad to drive an SUV or live in a big house. I'm just giving an example of, how one's internal values and beliefs don't always express in the outer world. And maybe that's part of what Aquarius can teach us, is how to align those beliefs. So rather than getting so worked up about what other people think, what I would encourage you all to do in the week ahead and in the month ahead is to look at your own belief systems, your own ideals, because Aquarius is such a grand idealistic sign. It has these lofty ideals, just like Pisces, the next sign has even loftier ideals, I think, in a way. But Aquarius is very lofty and motivated to try to persuade others to get on board with the cause. So, the best way to persuade others to get on board with a cause is to live an exemplary life. I mean, if people can feel your magic, your sparkle, that you have a certain kind of inner rhythm, a little pizzazz. I mean, if you are happy, if you have your stuff together, and then you talk to them about a cause, they might be, interested to get on board. Frankly, being angry and upset, that's just so cliche right now, okay? Because everybody's angry and upset, well, not everybody, but so many people. So if you're angry and upset and you feel, like you've been, unjustly treated, and you might have been, okay? I acknowledge that. You definitely might have been. But, just being caught in that right now, well, you're going to have to share the stage with a lot of people. A lot of people are feeling very victimized right now. Have you noticed that? It's really hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys right now because, everybody's acting so extremely and violently and aggressively. Not everybody. Again, I'm really maybe exaggerating, but there are many people from many different sides of the fences, so to speak, politically and religiously and, different movements, and they're all kind of acting a bit like children, bad children, naughty children, okay? And that's why we find ourselves in the boat that we're in right now with, the fastest way to attract the attention of totalitarianism or, just get more restrictions is to act up in extreme ways. So we have a lot of extremism. And so some more transits going. That isn't just because of the sun in Aquarius, by the way. Okay. On Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. And yes, that is Inauguration Day in the United States for those of you who follow the illusion of politics. I say the illusion because it's part of the worldly matrix. It feels real while you're in it for some of us, I guess. So that is Inauguration Day, new president in the United States. And the aspects that day, the transits are really volatile, extremely volatile. This whole week is probably if not one of the, at least one of the, if not the most volatile week of the entire year, astrologically speaking. So again, there's just a real need to seek that inner peace and calm and take all that unrest and all that worry and fear that you might be feeling, not just about politics, okay, because I know a lot of you who follow this channel and my work, you don't involve yourself in politics, and that's probably wise for most of you because ultimately, we'll be leaving this world behind, and so we might want to follow some of it while we're here. That's just totally optional. But what's not optional if we're on the spiritual path is to give energy to our spiritual path. Okay, so that comes first. That is supreme. If we have extra time left, so in other words, if you've been glued to your TV this week, I hope you've been remembering to meditate. I hope you've been spending at least as much time meditating as you have been watching what's going on TV. Okay? If you haven't, you might want to look at where your spiritual priorities are. And, this is where, you can say you have an ideal, you can say you're spiritual, but are you really? Are you really? Sorry if I'm being a little harsh about this. I don't know what's up with me. Well, I think what's up with me is I'm really feeling, these energies and hoping that, those of us who have the capacity, in other words, you and me, those of us who have that ability to transcend the drama will. Because we need people right now to choose that option. We need that so bad. We need that more than we need any politician or any of that. We need people who will be alchemists for the whole, who will choose love in their own lives, who will choose to transcend hatred, who will choose to transcend division. These are very divisive aspects, or they can be, for those who are unconscious, for those who are, again, more mainstream and who are not working actively in the energies. It's going to be very divisive and very cloudy internally. But you're hopefully on a higher spiritual path. I think you are. That's why you're watching this video. So you have the capacity. Use it. Don't waste your energies doing what people of the world do. That's what I'm saying. Choose a higher path. We need you to. We need you to do it for you, and we need you to do it for all of us right now. All of us. Okay, so Wednesday we have Mars in Taurus, conjunct Uranus in Taurus. There's a lot of energy this week around Taurus and Aquarius. In fact, that's a lot of the energy this year, but especially this week. And if you have anything at 6 or 7 degrees in any sign, you're probably going to experience more of a release of energy this week, especially if you have anything at 6 or 7 degrees Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, or Leo. In other words, 6 or 7 degrees of the fixed signs, you're really going to feel these energies this week. And, this could give you great power and momentum to push through and to get things done and to connect up spiritually, to do some healing and some cleansing. And, on the subject of getting things done, any of you, whatever your signs are, whatever your degrees, this would be a good week to start wrapping some things up, because the news for next week is going to be that Mercury is going retrograde. And I believe that's on the 20th. Do I have notes on that? No, excuse me, that wouldn't be on the 20th. That would be, it's about a week from the end of this forecast, whatever the date is on that. I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. I think it's a week from the Friday of this forecast. So maybe I'll put a note in later down in the description. Okay. So just be aware that Wednesday, pretty intense energies, and also Wednesday through Thursday, just a lot of emotional energy because of the moon in Taurus is also making some stressful aspects. So Taurus is about, it's about a lot of things, but Taurus can be very authoritarian. It can, be very restrictive. So you may feel restricted. You may feel held back in some ways. But also it can be a good reality check if you're needing that, if you're needing to look at the practical, grounded aspects of your life. Maybe you're needing to, look at your finances, or your weight, or your health, or your home life on a very physical level. The actual home, the building, the structure, how you run it, how clean it is or isn't, how organized things are. Looking at work issues. Taurus is not really so much a career sign usually, although many Tauruses have great careers. But in terms of these energies, when that moon is moving through there supporting Mars, it's just dealing more at the practical levels, work as a means to earn income, in other words. So there's a lot with Mars. Mars, I think you already know what Mars means because it's sort of one of those really strong archetypes. Mars is a very strong, assertive energy, so people in general, we will feel more assertive. Be careful about that, okay? Be assertive. And I think some of you who follow my channel and, engage in these energies, I think some of you do need to be more assertive. I think that if you haven't stood up for yourself, you may need to do that, okay? You may feel the inner urge. Do that. If you're needing to do it as gracefully, as elegantly as you can, with kindness, with love. You can stand up for yourself without being a butthole. So try to do it in such a way that there's a dignity to it, because, I get it if somebody in your life has been unfair to you or if they've been the butthole. But I think part of what all of these energies this week are teaching us is that, the ends do not justify the means. And what happens, here's the problem. If we're coming up against people who we feel are tyrants, they are mean, they are unjust, they're dictators, or whatever, fill in the blanks, whatever other word you want to say. They're just beeholes, right? I get that. It's entirely correct, spiritually speaking, even, to want to stand up and present a different viewpoint. But if we go after those people in our life, or even our country, our world, if we use unjust means, if we become tyrants ourselves in our lives to stand up to the tyrants, then we are no better. In fact, we may be worse, because I've talked about this before. If you start out as a spiritually conscious person, as, again, most of you are, and then you go backwards, you consciously choose to go backwards. In other words, you are operating from higher energies, but then you let yourself get activated and triggered by somebody else who isn't, and then you stoop down to their level. I mean, you understand what I'm saying here? You've just gone back incrementally, like exponentially. Not incrementally, exponentially. And so many of you have worked so hard to get to where you are on your spiritual journeys. I would hate to see you go backwards. So that's another theme this week. Just try not to go backwards, okay? If you can't go forward, at least, really, it's easier. You're either probably always, there's a sense I have, at least for myself. If I'm not moving forward, it's really easy to slip backwards. It's hard to stand still in the same place, for very long, at least, I'm going to say. So try to move forward if you can, but even if all you do is you're mindful of not slipping backwards, that will help. That will help you tremendously, because it's hard to come back once you have de-evolved. It's very hard. And we're seeing that in our nation right now. In the nation I live in the United States, we have de-evolved, not evolved. And that's not any one person's fault. Some people like to say it's this person's fault or this group's fault. We're all complicit. And any of us who stoop to the level of, being unfair to others or attacking them, holding hate in our hearts, that makes us complicit. So, and it's hard. Listen, I know it's hard. I have to check myself. I can't really watch much news, because I get angry. I get angry at these so-called leaders for not really being leaders. I get angry for their pettiness. But if I let that make me petty, then again, what am I doing to contribute? Nothing. So we can help by transmuting these energies in ourselves, and especially on Wednesday. It just happens to be the same as Inauguration Day. Can't change it. That's the way it is. If somebody had asked me, I would say maybe you should move it to the next week. Of course, next week Mercury's going in retrograde, so I don't know if that's better. I don't know. On Friday, we also have Mars squaring Jupiter. So these tense energies aren't over on Wednesday. We have a lot, Mars in Taurus. Now it's going to square Jupiter in Aquarius. And that's going to keep bringing out that inner zealot. If your inner zealot comes out and you want to do something about something in the world, don't go crazy and, commit acts of violence or anything like that. Do something constructive. And don't waste your energy getting in an argument with, your spouse or, the people across the street or whatever it is about politics or anything, really. Take this energy, again, and transform it and use it to get something constructive done. Use it to make your life better and the lives of somebody around you. This is one of the best uses for anger. And I'm sorry, but sitting there griping doesn't do anything, okay? And in violence, look where that gets us. It may seem to get results for short term, but if it's mental, emotional, physical violence on any level, it's not going to be fruitful. You know why? Because there's this thing, and it's called karma. And when you commit those kinds of acts, you are generating more karma. And so you're ensuring that more of that, what you've just done, will come back to you and your family. Is that what you want? No. So let's try to uplift the energies the best we can. I know that most of us who follow this path. We are not the mainstream. We are not the majority. But we are powerful in our own ways. And we can make a difference. So in the week ahead, I would just ask you to join me in making a difference in transmuting energies. Hopefully by Saturday, Friday night, late Friday night, Saturday, things will start to calm down a little. We see that the sun is conjuncting Saturn. I never thought I would live to see the day where I would think that was a good aspect for a week, because usually it makes people a little depressed or, depressed or discouraged, or, it can put barriers and boundaries up. But this is a week where we may need some boundaries. So perhaps cooler heads will prevail by the end of the week. Perhaps the chaos will be reined in just a bit. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. And in the meantime, let's just keep transmuting those energies and taking the chaos and turning it into beauty instead. On that note, sending you much love, wishing you a peaceful, productive, and abundant week ahead. Bright blessings.